Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Canadian Retro. I've got a video here on putting together a Windows XP machine. It's supposed to be Windows 98, but I changed it up. First thing that we're going to be doing here is just setting this all back up again by putting some thermal paste down just to get things started. And then right after that, obviously, we're going to be attaching the cooler. I just put a little bead there. I don't think it needs that much, but we'll see what happens. Here comes the cooler. I was going to use a different one, but this is the one that I've started off with, and this is the one that came with the machine, so I thought I'd put it back in. The other one didn't fit. So I figured I would just plop this one down in there, and what I'm going to do next is just screw it all down. I went around each kind of corner here and sort of fastened it down to make sure that everything was good to go, and I went around the different corners and kind of went around it a couple of times. I'm not showing you that here, but I just kind of fastened it down, made sure it was nice and snug but not over snug. That was kind of the main idea of that. You can just see me screwing in the 4 screws right there and checking it out.
All right, we're back into it. This is going to take a little while to get sorted out, but we're going to be putting this computer back together. I'm pretty sure I know where everything goes. Hopefully, I'll be able to sort it out. In the meantime, I'll probably be sort of fast-pacing through any of this, so you can get a view of it, but I'm not going to be talking my way through it. That being said, I'm going to get started on this right now.
Alright, I'm just sort of fiddling around with some screws here on the front just for the I/O channels and all that kind of stuff, whatever's going up there as far as like front, things. I'm taking off this green guard here. It's kind of a pain. It's become a little tricky, but I'm getting it out of there. Don't worry about that too much. I'm going to be fiddling around with this a little bit here. You're going to see I'll make a few mistakes in the order I'm putting things in here, but first goes in the DVD writer, and it fits in there really nicely, actually. This drive here that I'm about to put in is not going to work later, which is really unfortunate. So I'm going to have to pull that drive out, see if I can get it going. It seems to light up, it gets recognized and everything, but the drive is stuck, like the door won't open on it, which probably is just like an elastic issue. But I might actually switch these out for ones that run off of SATA, because this actually supports it. This is actually the drive that goes in here. It's kind of like a proprietary drive bay that goes in. It's not really for your main hard drive. It's for one that you can kind of take in and take out, because this is a media center PC. So I was sort of fiddling around with this, and I kind of screwed it in. This is sort of a mistake right now. You can probably figure out why. I have to pull this back out again later in order to sort of plug everything in underneath. But here's me just sort of putting that green thing back in, and it just locks everything in place. But you'll see one of the drives here a little later on actually slides out. I might actually show it right now. One of the drives actually slides out still, and I kind of figured it out, but at this point I just kind of was like, all right, I'm moving on for a second. I don't know why that's sliding out kind of thing, and I just moved on to start plugging in the USB headers, the fans, everything like that. So that's what I'm doing right now, just making sure everything goes snug in its proper spot and everything. Here I'm sort of adjusting that because I realized my error, and I have to pull that drive out, or not drive, rather that tray out. And there I go. I'm putting the power in, and I'm going to have to unplug that a little later on in order to do a couple other things. But I'm just figuring out where everything goes, so it's not a big deal, and unplugging and plugging isn't that big of a deal either. So there you go, like a little more USB action. There's me unplugging it. The reason why is there goes the RAM. I'm putting in gigabyte sticks of RAM here, so each one is going to be a gig, and there's 4 in total right there. Now I'm just going to plug in the IDE cables for the drives. Again, I think I'm going to switch them out to SATA drives. They're going to be a little faster. You're going to have less cable issues, things like that. So I think I'm going to be able to do that. Hopefully I have enough connections for that. We'll see what happens. One might be on IDE, one might be a SATA drive a little later. I'm not really sure about that. But as it stands, I'm plugging in sort of what came with it.
Well, I've been agonizing over this here. I'm not really certain 100% where that's supposed to go. The only place I can figure it out, and this seems to me to be like a USB header that's in the front. Unfortunately, it's not labeled, or actually it might be in the back, but it's fed underneath the board, so I can't even tell exactly where it comes out. So I'm just gonna have to wing it here. It doesn't seem to have any other spots on the board that it can go. I think I have the front USB, you know, all set up. That sort of front panel. So this one, I think, possibly goes right here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but there's a USB header down here. The thing that confused me is that it actually has two sets of pins, like 2 rows of pins, and this only has one. So I'm not sure if that's actually correct or not, but I don't see where there's one somewhere else. So maybe that's additional expansion that you could possibly use. I'm not entirely certain, but we're going to continue from there because that's where we're at, kind of thing. What I'm doing next is kind of hooking up power. I'm trying to figure out what order to do this so I don't have to pull things back out to put it back in. I've been kind of going through that. Just put the RAM back in. I had to pull this tray back out. So that's going to come in after I'm learning my lessons as I go along here. So some of the updates here are going to be putting the cards back in. I got to make sure they go in the right spots because they're labeled on the side here or on the back here. So that's kind of where I'm going next with this. So hopefully that's correct. One other thing I need to do before I do that and make sure I don't forget is that there's a power button here in the front. So I want to make sure that I've got that right and oriented correctly. I think that's correct right like that. Pretty sure. It's in there pretty snug. All right. So we're pretty good there. And another thing is I need to get a hard drive for this. I was thinking an SSD, which this didn't originally have. This would have had, you know, an IDE kind of drive. I'm thinking an SSD. There is the ability here to have SATA connections. I know the SSD is not going to be like maxed out or anything in speed, but I think it's just a little more likely to work than, you know, spinning rust discs. So let's get into this.
All right, so jumping back in here, just plugging again the power in. That's something I had to unplug before, so I'm just making sure that's nice and secure in there. Next is just plugging in those the CD or sorry, DVD ROMs and writer into power because I already got them hooked up with the IDE cables there. So it's just a matter of doing that and getting into the next thing. We're going to start putting in a sound card. This wasn't originally in it, but I decided to put a Sound Blaster Live card in there. So I think that'll be pretty handy. The only thing I do need in the future is to be able to connect the CD or DVD drives up to that to get sound out of them. So I'll have to figure that out as I go along. Here is just the graphics card. I'm trying to remember which one this was. It's one that came in it. So I think it was just like an NVIDIA kind of card, nothing super special or fancy, but that could always be upgraded in the future. That was just sort of something that came with it kind of thing. Just fitting it in there, making sure it's nice and snug, and obviously I'm going to screw those down when I'm doing it here. Probably in the future when I do this, I'll probably screw down extra ones. There's the Win TV card that came in it as well. That's really part of the media center idea. And there's also an additional cable there that attaches to that, which attaches to the front panel as well. Just for various aspects of capturing or whatever. So that's basically like an old school kind of capture card. I thought that would be pretty cool to keep in it. Plus it stays with the theme of Media Center. So I threw that back in there. Moving along, I'm getting pretty close here to the end. I'm just showing you the screws there for the fan, and I'm going to screw that in. There's 4 screws on it, and I'm just going to screw it into the side. That's the fan that came with it. Again, I was going to upgrade that, but unfortunately the one that I had just wouldn't properly fit correctly, so I just went with the sort of stock fan that came with it. I think it'll be fine for clothing. I'm not too worried about it. Moving along, I'm just showing the hard drive that I'm putting in here. Actually, it's not a hard drive, it's an SSD. It's 128 gigabytes. Should be more than enough, I think, for this system. Of course, it could go bigger. I can always add more storage if I want to add like extra hard drives and things to it. I'm sure there's room for that. And I'm just going to sort of Velcro it right down to the bottom here. That way, if I ever want to upgrade it, I can just rip the Velcro up and put a new drive in there. So no big deal. Moving along, there's that tray again that I've been taking in and out, and it probably won't be the last time that things kind of get fiddled around with that. I sort of spent a little bit of time on that, but now I got the actual drive bay that goes in it. I decided to put that back in. Originally, when I was doing the 98 build, I was going to leave that out because I don't even have a drive to go in there. You can see that sort of proprietary connector that I'm attaching right there, and that connector is going to have to just sort of be sitting vacant, which I basically just don't even bother plugging it in because I'm not going to be using it unless I get a drive for that bay, which I would be pretty, again, proprietary. I'd probably have to find another system that had the drive already in there. So far, that's really what's going on. I'm just screwing everything down where it needs to be, as you can see there. And
okay, last thing to do here is a smoke test before we fully test it out. I guess we're already on. No, we got power in the back. I can see a little green light here on the power supply. That seems pretty good. The fan's automatically spinning though, so I'm wondering about that. If that's actually supposed to be on. Oh, I guess I had the power on. Hey, good thing I even noticed that. Let's fire it up and see what happens here. Got one stuck DVD drive. The other one opens. Not smelling anything blowing up just yet. We're frying, we'll see. Have to let her run for a few minutes. Didn't hear any beeps though either. Should I hear a beep? I don't know. Okay, I guess all that's left is fire it up and see what happens. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's fire it up. See what we get. I have to check out stability and everything too, not just so if I hit F1. Go into the setup. I don't have a operating system. That's gonna come next. You can watch me struggling trying to get drivers to work on things. That's coming up. I'm gonna tab over. Well, first we can take a look at this actually. The time's wrong. I gotta reset that, but I did pre-boot it a second ago because I thought I was recording and I didn't realize I wasn't. So this used to say like it was 5 hours or 5 minutes or whatever. So I know that CMOS battery is now working. I just have to set the correct time and date. I'll do that at another time. You can see my Lexar 128 gigabyte SSD, so it recognizes that. That's wicked. I know I'm not going to get the best speeds out of that on this kind of system, but still, it'll make it snappier than it would be off of a spinning Rust disk. You can see the DVD writer and the DVD ROM, and it recognizes the ROM. The ROM DVD or IDE DVD drive does not open, so I have to figure that out. And the rest of that's fine. I'm gonna see if I can tab over. Oh, here we go. I don't know why that suddenly worked, but plug and play, PCI auto detect, PS2 mouse. My mouse is not a PS2 mouse right now, but USB Legacy Sport Auto. Looks pretty good. Onboard LAN boot ROM. The onboard. All right. Let's see. So we've got in this PC here Pentium D, clock speed 2.8 gigahertz at 800 megahertz. So CPU L2 cache, pretty good. Talk about power after PowerShell auto boot time diagnostic screen disabled, boot device priority, first floppy group, CD group, hard drive group. Sounds good to me. Boot priority, the DVD writer. Yeah, I mean, really don't need floppy group. It might be one less thing it's got to search through, but because I don't have floppy on this computer, there's no spot for it. Actually, there's not enough things in the front unless I wanted to remove a DVD drive. I mean, that could be an option. So I'm gonna escape out of here. Quit without saving. I'm gonna say yes because I didn't really change anything. and it's going to just say disk failure, only because there's no operating system right now. So in the next video, I'm going to be installing Windows XP onto this system. Hopefully I can get the correct stuff for the the HP Media Center. One last thing I have to do is to put the front panel back on, but I won't bore you with that. It's pretty straightforward. Just snap it in and put the side panel on. But otherwise, that's everything this time around. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Feel free to thumbs up this video, comment down below, and I'll see you all later.